The question is, are you ready?
What do you guys want to talk about?
Let me talk to you.
Throwdown Nation, we are live. It is episode 84 of the Throwdown with Matt. It is a Thursday night, and we are rolling on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter/X, Facebook, and Twitch. And tonight we are throwing down with a Fort Wayne, Indiana-based wrestler and certified personal trainer, Mr. Jacob Brawn. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
Like I said before we went live, man, it's been a really terrific day, and I'm glad to be here and glad to have you here with me.
Happy to be here, absolutely.
And something I'll say before we really get rolling with this, anybody that's watching this live, if you have questions or comments, throw them in the chat, and we'll either tackle them as we go or do a little Q&A session at the end. And so we'll go ahead and get started with the first and most obvious question, and that is, how long have you been wrestling?
I have been professionally wrestling for almost 13 years now. April will be 13 years.
Wow, so you've been doing this a while, but you've still got some good years ahead of you too. So
I think the same thing.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of guys are hitting their prime in their, late 30s, early 40s, and I'm not even into my late 30s yet. So I think I got some gas left in the tank.
Awesome. So who actually trained you?
So originally I was, as Jack Thriller would say, I was microwave trained by Briar Wellington originally. And then I got my foot in the door and started doing some shows. And then shortly after, I started training under Congo Kong to get fully and properly trained.
Very good, very good. So over actually on the Facebook chat, Dan Grubb just checked in saying what is good, and he said he's here to represent Brawn Fitness.
That's my star client right there, man. That dude has lost. I know we're here to talk about me, but I'm going to talk about him for a second. He started training with me from day one of when I got certified. And from March to now, he's lost over 100 pounds.
Wow, that is a credit to his work and also to you for training him and staying on top of him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a good group effort here. So
that's got to be a good feeling to see that kind of success and know that you had a little bit to do with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I always I show him off like we're in a relationship or something half the time, you know, like look at my client. It's a really cool feeling to watch his progression.
Oh, he just corrected you. He said more like 145 pounds.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I wasn't sure. We're coming up on a weigh-in pretty soon here, so I wasn't sure exactly what we were at, but yeah, it's nuts.
That's awesome. Truly, truly awesome. So, in terms of the early portions of your training, what would you say was the most challenging aspect of professional wrestling for you to wrap your mind and body around?
I think it was probably the like how I would get booked in matches because of my size and just I think just like understand back then I didn't really understand it and I just would sometimes get a little salty about it because I would be, wrestling bigger guys and getting squashed and not having like full on matches, but I was just too green to comprehend it at the time.
Got you. Speed round. Rick Steamboat.
Ultimate babyface.
Yep. For sure. That guy was truly amazing.
Yeah.
And absolutely. So I'm presuming that you've been a fan of this stuff the majority of your life. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So what would you say is your earliest wrestling related memory?
It would be the moment I remember the most is when the Radicals debuted on Monday Night Raw and they showed up in the crowd and they started beating up the New Age Outlaws and it just hooked me in right there. And then that's when Shane McMahon bought WCW and
Yep.
Yeah.
When all that was going down, I was hoping that they were going to end up doing more with that whole thing than they ended up doing. I think they were. I think they had a gold mine in their hands, and they didn't know what to do with it. Yeah.
It definitely could have been milked out a little bit longer and everything.
Oh, for sure. So, do you remember a particular turning point in your fandom where you started to look at what was going on the screen and started thinking, I think I could actually do that? Was there a particular moment?
I don't know if there's a particular moment on TV. It was just like we used to all me and a bunch of buddies used to always watch wrestling, and I think someone eventually at one point someone was just like, "Hey, why don't we do this?" And so we did it in the backyard like every other kid,
Yeah. So, away from wrestling, what are some of your other hobbies and interests?
I love cats. I am a steel dart enthusiast. I'm a president of a dart league, actually. Funny enough, it just kind of fell into my lap. But so yeah, I do a weekly dart league, and I also am a big fan of jiu-jitsu.
Japanese or Brazilian?
Brazilian.
Yeah. It's been a number of years, but I trained for a few years in BJJ. Like I said, several years back. Interestingly enough, the school that I trained at, they actually closed the day that I got my blue belt. and and I was never able to find another decent school in the area. And around that time, my son got to the age where he was getting busy with stuff, so I just kind of got busy with life. And one of these days I may go back to it, but I'm 55, so I don't know if I actually will. But I've I will say that there is no better full body workout than rolling rounds of jujitsu with somebody. I mean,
yeah.
It is a great art.
Yep, that's what I'll be doing tomorrow at 5 a.m. We do we call them breakfast rolls, and just an hour of just open mat rolling around, just
nice,
getting sweaty and beating the shit out of each other. For it's the best way to start a Friday. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So we're mostly a wrestling show here, but we do dabble a little bit in pop culture. So, and I'm always looking for recommendations. Do you happen to be watching or listening to anything cool right now?
Watching, not so much. Listening, I'm a big music guy. I love going to concerts as well. And depending on what you like, currently I'm in a huge kick for a band called Stray from the Path.
Okay.
Which is I like to call them the grindcore Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, yeah.
They're very heavy, and they're also political, like Rage Against the Machine, but they're a lot heavier. So I'm a big fan of that one. There's another artist who I've been listening to a lot lately, Hobo Johnson, who actually Tim, who just commented that concerts are fun. Him and I went and saw Hobo Johnson live together in Cleveland a few years ago. Hobo Johnson's like rap rocky. I mean, I don't know. Like he's like doesn't really rap, but he like sort of. I don't know. It's weird, but it's good stuff. I enjoy his work as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm a big music guy myself. I actually, when I started doing live streams, originally I was actually doing similar types of live streams with unsigned bands, and I expanded my content into wrestling, and then discovered that it was easier to get bookings on the wrestling side of things. So that became my focus with these. But I'm actually a hobbyist bass player.
Nice. Okay.
And love all kinds of music. I can listen to just about anything and enjoy it. So that's very cool.
Nice.
So so your hometown you were mentioning is Detroit, Michigan. What is your favorite thing about Detroit?
Oh, I mean, right now, obviously football season's over, but lately it's the camaraderie for the Detroit Lions and just how hyped the city was getting, and how fun it was to be a Detroit fan. Yeah, I mean, it just like you can just tell, like walking around anywhere in Detroit or surrounding cities, like there's just something in the air that people were really like just all in a better mood. Everyone was always like more chipper and hype and stuff, and like it was really cool to be a part of.
Oh, for sure. And since currently you're in Fort Wayne, Indiana, what is your favorite thing about Fort Wayne?
Being down here with some other wrestlers like Anthony Toatelli and Kung Fu Kirk and Eric Surge. I mean, those guys are my ride or die at the moment. We go to shows together, we train together in the gym or in jiu-jitsu. I live with Kung Fu Kirk currently, so like, yeah, it's just good homies.
For sure. Speed round. Rhea Ripley.
Oh, does that count? No. Mommy, Jesus. She is just so entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
And watching her growth and from her character from when she started to where she's at now, like it's always fresh, always, just always innovating and evolving.
Yeah. Something I'm really excited about, and I hope we get to see this sooner rather than later. I would love to see her do a program with Jordan Grace now that Jordan Grace is in WWE.
Yeah.
I think those two would have some amazing chemistry.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be a good one. Like we were talking before we went live, there's just, with everything going on in wrestling and how hot it is, there's just so many possibilities right now, and it's
right.
great.
And with the current leadership regime in WWE and their apparent willingness to collaborate with other companies now, you really do have the feeling that almost anything is possible.
Right.
And that's just, it's a cool place to be in as both a fan and as talent.
Absolutely.
So they say that the best wrestling personas are kind of yourself turned up to 11. So tell me a bit about in-ring Jacob Braun and kind of compare and contrast him with everyday you.
I don't know, like, as a heel, I don't think I'm that much of a piece of crap in real life, I try not to be, at least. As a babyface, absolutely. I'm just out there being myself and being silly and having fun. But yeah, being a heel is more like, it's weird because it's so much more natural for me. And like, there have been some people lately, even because I had a big heel turn up at Super Shogun Wrestling back in October, and they told me it was like a light switch, and just I was a completely different like person and a different aura and stuff. And like, I don't know how to explain it, like being able to tap into that, because I don't think like I'm that bad of a person in real life, and then just in wrestling, I can, be a heel and I'll tell people to shut up, or, have smart comments and stuff when people chirp at me and everything. And it's different than normal me.
Oh yeah. Well, I've told a lot of my guests doing these. As a fan, I tend to gravitate more toward the heels. I find them to be more compelling characters usually. So
there's more depth to it. Absolutely. Like I enjoy being a babyface for selfishly, because I'm like, like people, people genuinely like me, like when it's earned.
Right.
It's more, like a good genuine reaction is like really cool to experience. And like having like streamers thrown and stuff when you win as a babyface, like, is super cool. But then on the opposite side of it, when I had my heel turn, they threw trash at me. So I guess that's the same thing as streamers, in a sense.
Just a little, perhaps less hygienic.
Yeah, a little more dangerous for sure.
Yeah. So, Tell us, if you can kind of remember back and reflect on it a bit, tell us about your very first match. What was it like? How did it go? What were your thoughts going into it, thoughts coming out of it, all that stuff? Just kind of take us back to what your first match was like.
It was a fatal four-way on, I want to say, April 20th or 21st, maybe, of 2012. I don't remember the promotion it was for, but I know it was a four-way with Sweet Willie Watts, a guy named Devil Dog, maybe, and another guy named Nick Moss. And the only thing I really remember from the match, just because of how long ago it was I took a choke slam from the big Devil Dog dude. And then I think that was the pinfall for the match. But then I remember coming to the back and getting an envelope. And, it was the first time I ever got paid to wrestle. And I was like, this is it. Like, we made it. And it was exciting. Even if it was probably, $20 back then.
Well, hey, it beats the handshake and the hot dog.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we've heard about the first match. Now, if you can narrow it down, tell us about your favorite match that you've been a part of.
Favorite match. I think it would right now probably, I would say either my most recent match as Super Shogun this last Saturday against Kung Fu Kirk, or
he's your roommate, right?
Yeah. But I'm not just saying that, but like,
right.
He's such a good baby face, and him and I, he's been wrestling for 10, 11 years now. He's also a Congo Kong guy. And him and I just, our brains for wrestling are very similar. And his babyface work with the crowd, they just get so behind him, and it's so easy to just do whatever and get a reaction out of the crowd. And so I'd say that match, or back in November, we ran what was called main event wrestling here in Fort Wayne. And it was me versus Eric Surge, and he was the hometown babyface. And we weren't sure how the crowd was going to react, because I knew we had some people that were going to be there that knew me, just because I've been traveling and wrestling for so long. And so we weren't sure, like, if some people were going to cheer and other people were going to boo, or how it was going to go. And I walked out of the curtain first, and they instantly booed me out of the building. And I was just like, okay. And so we just went from 0 to 100, and I went full like heel, and we beat the hell out of each other for 20 minutes or whatever it was, and just had an absolute banger of a match. And yeah, just the crowd reaction was everything, and it was really great.
That's great. So I know that there are sort of 2.5 ways of preparing for a match. You can either work it out with your opponent in the back, you can call it in the ring, or you can kind of do a hybrid of both. Do you have a preference?
Hybrid would be my preference. Sometimes if you call everything in the back, it gets a little difficult to remember, depending on how much you call. And especially if you're in something like a triple threat, and then you call A through Z, it gets a little complicated sometimes. So I'm definitely more of a, here's our start, here's our finish, and then we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the middle out there. So.
Gotcha. So, and I know everybody has them, but what would you say is your biggest in-ring pet peeve?
Oh. I got this from Mark Vandy, my old tag partner. It's when when a tag team does the like tag and switches, but the ref doesn't see them actually like tag, and then the ref just plays along with it like it happened. That's a big one. People rolling across the ring sometimes, like instead of just running to the ropes, they like roll to stop and turn around. Like that doesn't make any sense to me either, but
Gotcha. Speed round. And really, I mean, same guy, but two different names. Adam Copeland or Edge?
oh God, a legend. Just being I still get chills every time you see his return at the Royal Rumble. It's goosebumps. It's just amazing. Crazy that he jumped off a cage and broke his femur or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like wild that he's still doing all those crazy bumps like he did 20 years ago,
Yeah. I mean, and he's not much younger than I am, and for him to still be operating at the level he's operating is pretty inspirational. I mean,
yeah.
both him and Christian. I mean, they're both doing amazing work right now. So
Absolutely.
hats off to both of those guys. So, if you could only be one, would you rather be great in the ring or great on the mic?
Oh, great in the ring.
Is there a reason that you choose that?
I think a great match is more memorable than a great promo in the long run. Because like there are a lot of great matches and not as many great promos.
Right.
And to even like guys who are great at promos, they most of it, like CM Punk, the pipe bomb example. That's arguably one of the greatest promos in the modern era. And yet all of his other promos are great. There's just nothing holds a candle to that one,
Right.
So I would rather have great matches because then, it's more memorable that way, in my opinion.
Got you. So what would you say has been your most unusual encounter with a fan?
I don't know. I guess I don't know if it's so. There's two here. One of them I wasn't involved in, but I was on the show. There was a lady she's a much older lady, gave her bra to one of the wrestlers, and like she was like a grandma age lady, so it was a very interesting choice of her to make. But I mean, hats off to her for shooting her shot. But then I think the other one I would say is there have been multiple times where fans have like tried to fight me and stuff. But this one time, this fan in particular was yelling at me and cussing a whole lot and saying a lot of slurs and stuff. But he was holding his baby the whole time, and his baby was like just a little baby. And I was like, I was just like, what are and like he had all of his kids around him and stuff. And I was like, what kind of example are you setting right now, dude? Like, it was just really,
Wow. So in terms of your in-ring work and your promos, who would you say are some of your influences?
I don't know. Promos, I've never really thought about anyone as like inspiration for promos.
Mhm.
But as far as in-ring work goes, I would definitely say like Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, like the cruiserweight, like those like technical cruiserweights from back in the day, or like these days, like I'm a really big fan of like guys like Timothy Thatcher and Gunther, like
Mhm.
that gritty catch style, kind of style. Like
Yeah. Yeah,
my to get my like for a while my most of my studying though was like Gold Dust and Rick Martel as far as like for like character work and crowd work and such too. So
Mhm. Gotcha. I can proudly say I am a huge Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko mark. I mean, and as far as Benoit goes, I can separate the man's body of work from how the man himself ended up. I can still watch and
yeah,
appreciate Chris Benoit's matches.
yep,
There's a lot of people that can't, and I mean, and I get that to some extent, but I mean, Benoit's three-way with Hunter and Sean at Mania 20 is still
hmm,
in my top three matches of all time. I just think
oh
that
yeah,
is just an amazing match.
yep,
Um,
definitely.
and and being a smaller guy myself, I've always had a soft spot for the cruiserweights, and seeing smaller, really athletic guys succeed in the business is just, I just think it's really cool. So, so do you have an all-time favorite match as a fan? A match that you can have watched it a million times and it just never gets old, and there's always some new little nugget you can pull from it.
CM Punk versus Undertaker at WrestleMania
Hmm.
is by like everyone preaches that Michaels and Taker is the greatest Mania match of all time. Punk and Taker is my argument with the whole story leading up to it, with Paul Bearer passing away and everything, and just I loved everything about it, and I was 1000% convinced Punk was going to be the guy to end the streak.
Gotcha. So, and this can be present day or past. Who would be a dream opponent for you? Who would Jacob Braun love to work?
Uh, um, I mean, a past obviously would be like Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko. Um, Present day, I would definitely say like Timothy Thatcher, Gunther, Minoru Suzuki. Um, yeah, those are the go-tos for sure.
Gotcha. Speed round. Tomohiro Ishii.
Um, Not insanely familiar with his body of work, to be honest.
Gotcha. Gotcha. He's a New Japan guy, and he's done a bit of work in AEW and Ring of Honor, but
Okay.
um, let's see here. I can grab another name off the list here. Shelton Benjamin.
Oh, that would be another great dream match, actually. What a freak of nature athletically. It just So good. Oh my gosh. What a great worker all around. Loved his Japan stuff once after he left WWE the first time. I love the stuff he's doing now as
Oh,
well
yeah.
in AEW as well. He looks great. He's murdering people. Looks awesome. Big fan.
Yeah. It's nice to see him back together with Lashley and MVP doing
They're
basically. Yeah, they have
so
such
good
good
together.
chemistry. Such good
Yeah.
chemistry. So, so what is your favorite move? What is something you just really love doing? And on the flip side of that, is there a move that you either won't do or you would rather not do? And that can be giving or receiving.
I love back body drops. Whether it's giving them or taking them, it's just such a classic babyface move to me. So like if I'm a babyface, I'll do it. If I'm a heel, I'll take it. It's fun to just take it and get flipped over. It's an easy move. Airplane spins are fun to give. I took one for the first time from Kung Fu Kirk, and now I understand why people don't like taking them from me. Because everyone gets dizzy. I don't ever get dizzy doing the move, but like now I realize taking it, I was like, okay, you definitely get more dizzy. So, and then a move generally very cautious about taking power bombs, specifically pop-up power bombs, because I've definitely gotten concussed really hard from one, and so I'm just kind of, got to be very trusting of the person doing it.
Got you. But yeah, you don't see the airplane spin much anymore. And
No.
it's definitely a throwback of a move. And
It fits so
yeah,
well
man.
when I was doing a carnival strongman character as a baby face. Yeah, it just fit right in. So
Yeah, man. And another move that you don't see much, and it's probably a good thing that you don't. But a move that whenever I see somebody setting up for it, I always just get the shudders, and that's the vertebreaker. I
oh
mean,
man, yeah.
that move. It looks like there are just so many different ways that could go catastrophically bad. I mean,
1000%.
yeah. I just like I said, thankfully you don't see it much anymore.
Yeah.
There was a time late '90s to early 2000s that they were just you were seeing vertebreakers all over the place, and it's
Well,
just
it was like the super kick now.
yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. But man, yeah, anytime I see somebody setting one of those up, I'm just like, please don't die. That's just So, you've been doing this long enough.
I trust pile drivers more than vertebreakers.
Oh, for sure. So, you've been doing this long enough that I'm sure this applies. But what hurts right now? Or should I say, what doesn't hurt?
Usually it'll be like my left hip, or the front of my right shoulder. So right now I'm okay. I'm doing it this week. It's been pretty chill. I wasn't too banged up after Saturday's match, but then the flu got passed around. So I've been slightly sick, but not terribly. So I've just been staying away from everyone and laying low. So I'm feeling okay.
Well, good. Well, what is the most significant injury that you have suffered either wrestling or training?
I've had a few concussions, and I broke my middle finger in a match. And and it was my own fault, actually. I drop kicked Aaron O'Ryan. This was probably 9 years ago, maybe. It was a long time, but I drop kicked him. And when I landed, I went to catch myself when I landed, and my hand was wrong, and I just, broke my finger in the middle of the match. And then just finished the match. Just kept going and finished the match really quick. So not really quick, but it was whatever at the time. Adrenaline, just you don't feel anything.
No, adrenaline is a hell of a drug. I mean, it truly is. But and the show must go on. So
right, yeah.
But yeah, man, back in my jiu-jitsu days, you're always to some extent a little bit banged up, but I managed to get through, a few years of doing that regularly. The only thing that I remember that actually I had to actually lay off of training for a few weeks is a guy posted off my chest to try to armbar me, and it was just a freak thing. I heard a crunch, and he had basically dislocated a couple of ribs, and I had to go to the chiropractor and actually get those popped back in.
Holy smokes. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just a completely freak thing, I mean,
right.
His hands were just in the right place, and he just put the right amount of leverage on it.
Yeah, no kidding.
And man, that was bad. I mean, and ribs are just something, every time you breathe, it hurts. So
I did one time. I wrestled this cat, Ben Brody, and he miscalculated his jump. So I guess I don't think of this as an injury, though I guess technically it was. He miscalculated his jump on doing like a knee drop, and he was supposed to get me in the chest, and he got me in the stomach. But when he got me in the stomach, he was using his arms to catch himself on the mat. But because he jumped short, his knee went to my stomach and his elbow went to my head and sliced me open. And so I roll over and I go, "Oh man, that really stings." And he's like, "Are you okay?" And I go, "I don't know." And he goes, "I think you're bleeding." And I'm like, "Let me check." And I move my hand and it just starts pouring. And I go, "Oh no." And I roll over and I look at the ref and I go, "We're done here. Ring the bell." And he's just like, "Oh, okay." Because it was that bad. And we had just started the match. We were 2 minutes in, 3 minutes in, and I'm like, fuck. And then we were supposed to brawl through the crowd right after that. And I didn't want to get blood all over a bunch of little kids and stuff. So I was like, nope, let's just call it. We'll call it a day. It's fine. So then we did I used super glue and butterflies to close it up. Didn't get actual stitches or anything. And then it was really funny because the very next week, I legitimately ran into Congo Kong's fist, and right below it, I cut my eyebrow open on the same side and started bleeding again. And I was just
wow.
What is happening to me right now? So I've got two scars there on this side of my face because of dumb wrestling. So
I mean, so 2 times virtually back to back. I guess the old expression is you got busted open hard way.
Yeah, dude. That's what I say. I'll never gig, just hard way me.
Yeah. So what is your take on the role that social media is playing as a promotional tool in wrestling?
It's huge. I mean, it's doing wonders for a lot of people. I wish I was better at social media because I think my wrestling's really good, but my social media is not. Yeah, I mean, it's giving a lot more opportunity for a lot more people. and that can be a good thing and a bad thing in hindsight. But yeah, I mean, it gets more eyes on wrestling as a whole as well, so it's a good thing.
Gotcha. Dan Grubb commented on Shelton that he's he's underrated.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah. So let's see here. So knowing everything that you know at this point in your life, if you could give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Probably to eat more and put on the weight faster.
Gotcha. Did you have I guess you had a hard time gaining weight?
It's very hard for me to gain weight. Yeah, it takes a long time. I have to eat right. Like I generally have to eat at least 3,300 calories a day if I want to bulk.
Gotcha. So do you have any pre-show traditions, any things that you try to do consistently before you walk through the curtain?
Smelling salts.
Okay.
That's it. It's just a big whiff of smelling salts wakes you up, gets you real hype, and then you just go out the curtain and do the damn thing.
Yep. Yeah, we prior to what I do now, for a number of years, I was actually a firefighter paramedic.
Oh,
And
okay.
And so we had a variety of things, because you would occasionally get these patients that were pretending to be unconscious, but they truly weren't. And we had our ways of determining pretty quickly if somebody was putting on or if somebody was truly unconscious. And I mean, we didn't have smelling salts, but we had these little ammonia capsules, and we would pop one of those and stick it right under their nose. And if they were faking it all, I mean, they would be up and swinging.
Oh man, yeah,
So.
It's really funny to because we use the smelling salt. A few of us do, and it's really funny to watch some of the younger kids. Like they look at us like we're like maniacal or like foreign almost, and then like you see them like take it and they'll look at it and they'll be like and just lose their minds over it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Speed round. LA Knight.
Great promo, insane charisma, super over with the crowd, to the point of like going to SummerSlam when it was in Detroit 2 years ago. It was annoying how much everyone in the crowd the entire time was just saying, yeah, just between every match, during every match, before the show, after the show, like, just insanely over.
Absolutely. And, from what I understand, I've heard this story, because he came to the WWE system when Hunter was still running NXT. And he he showed up at NXT and basically told Hunter, if I have not gotten myself over to just a mad level within 6 months, fire me.
That's crazy.
He came in with that much confidence, and he said, I'm your guy. And
hell yeah, good for him.
And if I'm not one of your top guys in 6 months, cut me.
Yep.
Yeah. So something that we've done in all of these that's just been kind of fun. is we've let the current guest pose a question for the next guest. And last night I had a wrestler from Austin, Texas, by the name of Danny Orion. And the question that he posed, it's kind of a niche question, so you may or may not be familiar with this at all. But the question that he posed is, who is your favorite Super Smash Brothers character and why?
Captain Falcon has always been my go-to Smash Bros. Character. I don't know why. I just picked him way back in the day for the first Smash Bros. Game, and he's always been my guy ever since. Probably because he does the power knee and the big punch, and to me, those are just, wrestling moves. I mean, I do his like power knee as my finish move, basically. So, yeah, that's a good one. That's really funny.
Yeah. And, since this is part of a series, do you have a question that you would like to pose to the next guest? And I can go ahead and tell you who the next guest is. The question does not have to be particular to this person, but the next guest is this coming Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I've got episode 85 with a wrestler out of Utah, Alex V. He's currently being featured on Dive Pro Wrestling out there. So
okay. I'll say my question is, what's one wrestling move that you don't do that you wish you could?
Oh, that's a really good question. How would you answer that?
I would probably say a Northern Lights suplex, because I think that move is super pretty, but I don't trust myself to bridge over without dumping myself on my head.
Gotcha.
I could probably practice it. I just never have, to be honest. So,
gotcha. So we're pretty much toward the end of things now. So do you have any upcoming shows or anything at all that you'd like to give some hype to?
This week, let's see. So I'll say this weekend I will be hanging out with my crew, going to New Era Wrestling down in Shelbyville, Indiana. And then I don't have anything else at the moment until the next Super Shogun Wrestling show on March 8th. So I'm in a little bit of a dry spell currently, but we're working on branching out again. Now that I'm based out of Fort Wayne, I'm looking to definitely get out there more.
Very cool. Well, like I said, this coming Monday, the 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I've got episode 85 with Utah-based Alex V. Next Tuesday, the 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern, I've got episode 86 with a wrestler actually based currently out of Davenport, Iowa. He just graduated from the Black and Brave Academy out there, training under Merrick Brave and Seth Rollins, a guy named Drake Holloway. And then next Thursday, the 20th, at 7 p.m., I've got episode 87 with Drake Holloway's significant other, Tori Fox, and she also just graduated from Black and Brave.
Nice.
So next week we've got 3 more of these coming up, and actually, I'm actually booked up through the first week of April.
Nice.
I mean, this thing is really taking on a life of its own, and I'm having an absolute blast doing these.
Yeah, that's awesome. Absolutely.
And Jacob, I want to thank you for your time. This has really been a blast.
Yeah.
Nerding out about this stuff with like-minded people is just so much fun.
Yeah,
it
definitely.
really and truly is. And for those of you guys that have been watching this live, thank you. For those of you that'll be watching this on replays, thank you for that. If you like what we've got going here, do the old like, comment, share, subscribe, spread the word for us. And actually this Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, I actually helped moderate a panel discussion show called the Wrestling Roundtable. And we're going to be actually doing a review of the NXT Vengeance Day PLE that's going to be on Saturday. So we'll be talking about that on Sunday afternoon, and basically just kind of chewing on the this week's news in the business, and just basically, like I said, just kind of nerding out about the business.
Yeah.
But anyway, so everybody have a wonderful rest of your night. I'll be back Sunday afternoon and then Monday evening. And in the meantime, love each other, be good to each other,